Okay, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Okay, so in this episode, I thought I'd try to say something about Odysseus from Homer's Odyssey, and what happens to him at a certain point on his way back from Troy. And just in case you don't know, the Odyssey is one of the two epic poems attributed to Homer, the other one being the earlier Iliad. Okay, now the Odyssey is about the Greek hero Odysseus, who's the king of Ithaca, and his long journey home from after the Trojan War, where his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus await him. It's widely recognized as one of the greatest stories of all time. Okay, so let's just jump into it. Okay, so there's this remarkable moment in the story. This is what happens. Lost at sea, on his way back from Troy, Odysseus is rescued by the immortal goddess Calypso. He's held captive by her for 7 years on her beautiful home island of Ogygia. Now, over this time, she falls in love with Odysseus and promises him something incredible. She promises to make him ageless and immortal, but on the condition that he would only stay with her forever. Okay, well, Odysseus, however, refuses her. Instead, all alone, he spends his days on the shore with his back to his captor, giving himself to tears and heartache as he looks across the sea, thinking of his wife back home in Ithaca, whom he hasn't seen for about 17 years. Now, this is remarkable because what Odysseus is doing is not only rejecting the opportunity for immortality for himself, but he's also rejecting the opportunity for an eternal relationship with an ageless, beautiful goddess who will never stop desiring him. And to boot, all of this on an island whose beauty has no rival in all of Western literature. Okay, now here's the thing. So why would Odysseus choose his mortal aging wife over all that Calypso offers? And why the perils of his rocky Ithaca over the eternally lush and tranquil island of Ogygia, full of fragrant cypress and birds with wings spread? Well, despite Calypso's offerings and the island's beauty, it's pretty obvious that Odysseus feels heartbroken, but also, importantly, really, really lost. I mean, think about it. He has no bearing, no orientation out here on this far-flung island out on the broad back of the sea. And this is not hard to understand. It's because everything about the sea is the same. It's homogeneous and amorphous. It's a formless, misty expanse. And in an infinite expanse, there's no direction. There's no center to be had. There's no sacred place. You know, it's interesting. The historian of religion, Iliade, talks about a mythological concept that he calls the Axis Mundi, which translates as the center of the world. Now, this, he says, is a little microcosm of order, as opposed to the larger, unknown, chaotic world. And it basically functions as the sacred and the firmly entrenched place of every inhabited region. Every culture has one. For many Greeks, it was, of course, Delphi, the navel of the world. But it could be represented by many things. For example, a firmly rooted tree, or a larger home with its central hearth where families gather, or its garden where loving cultivation takes place, but also something symbolic of a primordial paradise, of course. So the Axis Mundi provides its inhabitants with a sense of fixed reference and stability and nourishment and connection and transcendence. Well, this is what Odysseus doesn't have here at the edge of the sea on Calypso's island. Rather, his center of the world, that which makes up his coordinates, is to be found in Ithaca, over which he rules and tends to, and in his orchard, of which he has childhood memories of following his father around, and in his home and its fireplace, and of course in his wife and their marriage bed that he made for them so many years ago, immovably fixed to a great rooted olive tree. And there's more to be said here. You see, what I think Homer is saying with this little episode is that love is not just about being cared for. It's also about caring for another. You see, Calypso's paradise might offer eternal ease and leisure, but it does so at the cost of attachments to the very real world. For Odysseus to exile himself with her is for him to deprive himself of both the cares and the tribulations of the very human life that he left behind. A life of caring for his wife and his family and his homeland. We have to remember that Calypso is a god and therefore doesn't really need anything at all, let alone Odysseus. So what can he really offer her then? Nothing. But Penelope needs him. He can feel useful and responsible for Penelope. He can extend to her his care and his concern. Now, this is what Calypso can never understand, and it's an important reason why Odysseus spurns or denies her. To love, to really love, is to care for another who needs you, despite or even because of the hardships it brings in its wake. Anyway, so let me go back to this idea of homecoming again, because it's super important. So we should remember that for the ancient Greeks, there was no such thing as selling your place. No, your home was permanent. Blood in the floorboards, you were born and you died there. Your home was who you were. It was your definition. It was your absolute root. So it's not insignificant that when Odysseus returns, the first thing he notices is his hearth, his fireplace, the center and gathering place of home. Actually, it's interesting that love here in the Odyssey is clearly of the domestic and everyday. A very far cry from the love of glory in battle that characterizes the Iliad. Anyway, it's not insignificant that when Odysseus is finally revealed to Penelope, it is because he was able to identify the marriage bed that he made for them so many years ago. He had carved it out from a living tree, a tree rooted deep into the earth, a bed so deeply rooted that it survived 20 years of separation. And let's remember this one more thing. Odysseus's homecoming also implies a conclusion to his story, something that would be taken away from him in Calypso's paradise. I mean, Calypso offers him eternal life, but really, what sense can be made of a world without completion, where things pass without direction or end, where time dissipates into the air without any kind of hold or traction? One needs a beginning and one needs a conclusion. Against the backdrop of infinity and indistinction, one needs to carve out a self-enclosed narrative, a meaningful totality. Well, that's another reason why Odysseus leaves Calypso. Ultimately, Odysseus, like salmon who returned to their natal waters, needed to come home to his native land, to die. That was the final testament of his fidelity and his love. Bye for now.